Hey friends, I've got a 1966 Martin D-18 on the bench. I bought this from Brad Gillis in the Bay Area. It's a great sounding vintage Martin Dreadnought, but the frets are high and there is a lot of string wear. So I'm going to look at this guitar with a different tool from Six Stringers. I'm going to use the Maestro Radius Maestro in a 16-inch radius. That is the spec of this Martin D-18. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you've seen me do 11 guitars with the Maestro Omni, and that is a tool that'll let me level frets for any radius guitar. I've had excellent results with that, as well as the Fret Fixer. I've used that on a few other guitars that just had a few high frets. So this is my first time using the 16, and the reason being that we can't use the Omni on this particular guitar because look at the fret wear right next to the frets. And if you recall, the Omni uses the flat wood around a 1/16 of an inch on either side of the fret to guide the filing and to ensure the radius angle of the frets in relation to the fretboard. We don't have that kind of wood here, but we do have some forensics to go on. I'm going to show you those in a second, and then we also have the guidance from Six Stringers support, which has been excellent in giving me direction. So let's take a look at the forensics worksheet. One is measuring fret height, and one is measuring the relief underneath a notched straight edge. Because, you'll see in a second here. So with these heights, look at the wild numbers here. This plays really high in the first few positions. So we have 45 thousandths, 46 thousandths, 45 thousandths on that first fret alone. If we go to the 7th fret, which is where the greatest relief is at tension, we have 33.5 thousandths. So that's quite a disparity. There's going to be a lot of filing. But as you saw earlier, the fingerboard is so worn from string wear that we can't rely on the Omni to use the fingerboard alone to handle the radiusing of the frets, these asymmetrical frets. There isn't a single fret that has an even radius or height across the span of the fret. So let's bring in another method to work in and file our frets. I'm using a notched straight edge. I've already done the work, so I used a notched straight edge for the scale length of the guitar, along with feeler gauges, and with the guitar strung at tension with the strings that I'll be using. I'm taking measurements underneath the metal of the notched rule next to the wood, and I'm going up the length. And here we have a lot more consistency. So you see a lot of 12 thousandths. When we go to the center, that's in fact the same value that we're going to be targeting. That's going to be our guide fret. The bridge side and nut side is where I did the feeler gauge measurements, and then you can see the fall off there as the values get a little bit higher, but we're not as concerned in that area. So between the two forensics worksheet, the 16-inch Fret Maestro is going to be a great choice. And so I did a performance on this guitar, strung at tension, before I do any of this work, and although the guitar sounds great, it's hard to play. All right, so we've got to do a fret job on this, and we're going to use the affordable Fret Maestro to do the work. So let's walk into it. So we're back on the bench, and this is the 7th fret. This is going to be the fret that we're going to make symmetrical first. So we know that it's 33.5 thousandths in the center, so we don't want to take off anything there. So we're going to mark it so we can keep track of our walking in with the Fret Maestro. So that's marked. Now, the Fret Maestro comes with, I've shown you this in the other video, but we've got this. This is pretty clever. This has all of the height settings. We're going to determine which value that we need to set on the Maestro in order to make this 7th fret symmetrical all the way across. We have a high side on the high E and we have a high side on the low E. We don't want to take any metal off, we just want to barely scratch the top so that we know we've bottomed out. Because once we've got that value, we're going to do all the rest of the frets to that value. Okay, so this is our focus right now. Now, 6-stringer support will send the actual values that these represent, but let's just go through the eyeballing per the directions on 6stringers.com about how to use this tool in order to determine what setting we want to start with. Now we could walk it in, and that's what we're going to do. Walking it in means we're going to use a setting of 0 on the Fret Maestro. All right, so let's set that up. Let's get that going. 0 is the highest setting. In other words, the file won't be touching the fret. All right, for any normal guitar, any standard fret height. Okay, so now you can see also, while I've got it here, the Maestro, this is radiused for this Martin guitar. I wanted to show the difference now between the Omni. You can see this is a straight edge here, but the beauty of that is that I can do multiple radius filing and crowning and leveling, and I have done that on about 8 guitars, and a few others were with the fret fixer. Here is the 16-inch radiused Maestro, so you can see the curve, which will match the published curve of the Martin. I just did a check with a 16-inch radius guide tool, and it's excellent. So it matches all the way up and down the neck. Now, it's an old guitar, 1966. It's seen a lot of play, and there is some fall off on the side. So we're conscious of all that. We're not going to worry about that with the tool because we have a radius tool to do the work. All right, so let's take a look at this. Now, I measured this with the digital calipers. You saw the forensic worksheet at 33.5 thousandths. So the rule here, and I'm going to have to see the values on my side, but so 0 has the highest clearance. Now I'm doing this in the center because that's where it's the lowest. That's the lowest height. So clearly it bottoms out there. It's not a problem. I'm going to advance to 1. We're looking for what value does this tool rock. Okay. It's not rocking there. We're on 5. Still not rocking. 6. Still not rocking. 7. The published depth of this, of each of these grooves, of each of these slots, is available, and I'm referring to it. I'm on the 7th one, which with the glide strip would be 35 thousandths. So we know this is 33.5. So that's what we would expect. This is not rocking. Let's go to the next one. The published value for a setting of 8 is 32 thousandths. And I don't have any rocking here. So let's go to the next one. But when I go to 9, that's the published value of that is 29 thousandths with the glide strip, and it's rocking. So the setting we would go on the tool is going to be 8. So that's one technique for determining where you're going to be as you make this and all these frets symmetrical. So we're going to try because this is crucial, we don't have an opportunity for error with this well-worn guitar. So we're going to walk it in on the 16-inch radius Maestro. So what we want to do first is ensure that that's marked. Let's make sure that's readily visible, and then start walking in the Maestro. All right, so we've got the fret marked. We are going to put our glide strip on it. This is calibrated to 5 thousandths of an inch. We're going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch gap on either side of the fret. We've got 3 files that came with each Maestro. We've got a crowning file, 16C. That's what we're going to start with to identify how asymmetrical the fret is lengthwise. We've got a 150 grit and we've got a 300 grit. So let's start with the crowning. We put the glide strip on. Setting of 0. We've got the glide strip. We're going straight across. No wear of that Sharpie as expected. We're going to move to 1. This is walking it in. And we'll proceed. Nothing expected. We're going to 2. Now we're setting of 2. 2 should be 5 hundredths with the glide strip. So on the treble side, we've got 36 and 38. Our target is 33. So we're expecting a lot of work here. So we got to file away until we can start to see the Sharpie decrease before we introduce the flattening files. So move it to 3. Still shouldn't see anything here. It's bottomed out. You can see the wear on the outside, Sharpie disappearing, but we're still not in the target. We're going up to 4. Make sure it's seated in there. 4. This is 44 thousandths. Notice I'm holding the tool, my thumb here my finger here. I'm not touching these. I'm not touching these adjusters. So we're at 4 on both sides. Straight across. Okay. Still got a ways to go. 5. Each time I make an adjustment, I'm pushing the file in. All right. 5 is 41 thousandths. We still should be fine here. We're getting wear there, and that is the high side, 38. So that makes sense. So we're coming in. Now we're going to 6, 38. This we should be definitely taking some Sharpie off the bass side. So 6, right there, 6. And we should be finishing up here. We're watching. Looking good. Okay. So we're getting close to our target, which we determined with this. When we did this rocking, we should be able to reasonably expect that our target's going to be 8, where we hit the lowest part of the fret. So here's 7. It's looking good. Okay, but I have lots of Sharpie in the center, so that's what we expect. We're going to bottom out before we move up. That's a bottom out right there. So we're going to go up to 8. 8. Push it in. Push it in. 8 is going to be 32 thousandths with the glide strip. So we should be starting to take off this center. We want to be just enough. A few passes. Now, at this point, I'm going to switch out. I'm going to put some tape, some Scotch tape. So we've got some Scotch tape, which is going to give us another 0.0005. And then we're going to put the tape back on. Let's still use the crowning file. We're getting to the sweet spot. Sharpie's still there. I moved back to 7 with the 150. I've crowned the file. I'm going to Sharpie it one more time. There we go. That might be the spot. Okay. One more pass with the Sharpie. We definitely won't go to 9. Okay, but we might take a piece of tape off. I think we did it right there. That's it. That's what we want. So we're going to use this on every single fret, this combination.